Well, welcome everyone for City on a Hill Surf Coast. I'm Louis Glazebrook and you are watching Surf Coast Cafe, a time for us to get to know those in our church family. And today we are joined by Sharen. If you've been to our services while we were still meeting together, you will have seen her up the front singing. Otherwise, you will have seen her with a couple of the other mums chasing many children with a smile on her face and with the rest of us. How are you going, Sharen?
Good, and you?
Yeah, good, thank you. I've been spending my day looking at this. Actually, yeah, let's do it. You can see my view. This is what I can see at the moment. There we go.
I saw your front door earlier this week, so that's a good view.
Yeah, it's nice. So
Good view.
It's pretty good. It's better than looking at another house. I get to look at ovals, and
true.
If Hugo or Chase ever end up doing footy in the Torquay League, you can just come to our place and come into my little office and you can watch it from the warmth of a house instead of...
And not be afraid of watching their kids play sport. Genius.
Exactly. And we even have coffee.
Nice. Although, I was feeling quite like this was going to be a vulnerable sharing moment and that I could put some people off when I shared that I don't drink coffee.
Oh,
but then Matt shared that he doesn't, so I feel he and I are kindred spirits.
Oh, that's good. Well, that's a perfect segue to our first question. We're obviously not in a real cafe, but if we were and we could meet face to face, what would your order be?
I am usually a chai drinker out at cafes, but at home I'm usually a tea drinker.
Tea. Do you have a favourite tea?
I've been very into Earl Grey for about a year.
Oh, that's good.
Before that, it was just kind of regular black tea, but yeah, Earl Grey is the thing at the moment.
Do you take it with milk?
I do.
Okay, yeah, because there's also Lady Grey, is that right?
There is.
And I remember one of them you're not supposed to have with milk, like technically.
Oh, it's probably the one I'm doing, and I'm doing it very long.
But you're a year in. You're fully committed. There's no going back.
No, you can't change it now.
And with the chais, have you ever? Oh, this is hard to say. Have you ever tried a dirty chai?
No.
So a dirty chai is a chai latte with a shot of coffee in it.
No.
Yeah.
Because I really don't do coffee.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, then it'll never happen.
Yeah. So I don't, I like, especially since becoming a mother, I'm like, I really probably should get into this coffee business. And I've tried, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
I just don't like the taste of it. Yep.
I think that's okay. I actually think you're a stronger person if you can go against the grain of coffee lovers in society. So I think all
maybe
the power
it's something about me. Like maybe we can read into this.
Oh, it's good. Well, at least so we could digress ages talking about chai. We won't. Hey, we'd love to know. Tell us a little bit about your home. Who's in it? You know, what does life look like for you normally every day?
Normally every day. I am married to Dave. We've been married for 11 and a half years.
Come on.
We've got 3 kids, a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2.5-year-old who is very 2.5 at the moment. So my week just looks like running around after them. I feel like I spend a lot of time in the car. Between school and kinder drop-offs and pickups. But yeah, and then occasionally I try to get down to our business and do some paperwork, but probably not as often as I should. I sort of do a mad scramble 2 weeks out of the month and fit in several days worth of work into one. But yeah, so...
Oh, that's good. And for those of us that don't know, tell us a little bit about the business that you're heading down to.
It's like make a plug.
Oh, it's okay. I was
So
talking to Chris and we were plugging McDonald's coffee the other day. So.
Oh, nice. That's great. Actually, Dave would agree with you on that. So we have a mechanics workshop. Dave is a motor mechanic. So we've had that for about 18 months, maybe just short of. Yeah. So we're in Belmont, 25 Crows Road, Timberlake Automotive, if anyone's
there you go.
looking for their
There's the
car.
plug.
There's the plug. I feel a bit dodgy for having done that.
I think it's nice to know what sort of people get up to during the week, and that's and many people know like how hard you and Dave work to with, and it's been a maybe that's when we're all back together as a church, I think that's a great conversation starter. Tell us a bit about Timberlake Automotive story, because that's been super encouraging to watch that from the sidelines.
It's been an incredible an incredible business. Unexpected. Yeah, but we'll take it.
Oh, that's great. So tell us a little bit about your story. I mean, we just mentioned that the story of the workshop. What about you? Tell us about growing up. What does it look like? What did it look like when you started taking Jesus seriously? What's that been like? Oh, we've got a frozen
family. My parents had been. You've unfrozen. There we go.
There we go.
My parents have were youth leaders for many, many years before they had my sister and I. So we grew up in the church. I was one of those kids who was there the 2 Sunday services, and then back in the day when they had the midweek service, we were there too on a Wednesday night, I remember. And so grew up in the church. Dad and mum very heavily involved, and what I recently found out is that the church I grew up in through my sort of quite young years was my grandparents were part of like the church planting team for that. So that was really cool. I was like, that's a really
that's awesome.
nice link anyway, because we were deep in the throes of Surf Coast planting at the time I found that out. So cool. It was very cool. So I grew up there, and then we ended up at another church at Barrable Hills throughout sort of my teenage years and early adulthood, and it was probably my mid-teens, I think, where I really made a commitment to the Lord and made a decision for myself to want to follow him, and made that that made some changes within me throughout those teenage years. And then I sort of drifted away for a few years. In my late teen years, I just struggled with figuring out who I was, and I guess I think I sort of experienced some hurt from people within the church, and then just in, I guess, maybe immaturity or just my personality type, perhaps, I really, instead of being able to move through that and going, that person has hurt me, it became more about the church has hurt me, and even I think a little bit like God had hurt me. And so I ended up spending a couple of years away where I just was really disconnected from church and from God and from my faith walk. And then I think I was about 19. It sounds like a really weird story, but I was reading a book, so it was a Christian novel, and in it, one of the characters was very like me personality-wise. And single mother, which is not like me. But this character was a single mother, And she's just journeying through her life, I guess. And there's this one scene where she's feeling upset about whatever it was. And her little son, says to her, "Mummy, do you want me to pray for you?" And so this character's response is, "Pray that I will know God loves me."
Mm.
And as I read that, that was,
Wow.
it just really hit me. It was really timely. And so I was just sitting there, and I think it may have been like on a Sunday I was reading this book. And so I was still at home at the time, living at home with my parents. And I just was like, "Yeah, Dad, I'm going to come to church with you tonight."
Wow.
And I hadn't been in a church for probably 2 years, I think, at that point, or very close to 2 years at that point. And yeah, just recommitted my life, I guess. Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. So that's you when you're 19. So
Yes.
what's that walk look like then? Because I imagine there's quite a few people, that story probably really resonates with them.
Yeah.
Teenage years getting the better of them,
Yep.
party hard, and then there's that turn. Like what did what were you then negotiating, and what was that journey like?
Yeah, it was a big shift for me to have gone from being very, I don't want to go to church. And there was actually a lot of nerves surrounding me going back to church. I was really quite petrified, actually,
Wow.
of going back, because I was like, it was going back to the same church where I felt really hurt from. And so putting myself in a situation where I might have to see some people who I felt hurt by, but also feeling very disconnected from people who had been my friends for a long time. It was almost like I had to go back into a very new space. And I don't love new things. So that was quite nerve-wracking. But thankfully, God put some people there who just welcomed me back. And in many ways, it was like I almost hadn't been away.
Yeah.
And I just started reconnecting with people and reconnecting with God, and just opening the Bible up. And just during that time, the word was just very alive for me.
Wow.
In a way that it hadn't been before. And it was another book. It was the time when Rick Warren's Purpose Driven Life came out.
Yeah.
And I just devoured that book, and it just spoke to me in that time, just figuring out who I was, who God wanted me to be, who we are supposed to be as believers. And just that book was so chock full of scripture as well, just fed my desire to be in the word and to be reading lots more from the word. And yeah, and then I got involved in youth ministry.
Yeah.
Did youth ministry for 4 or 5 years. I had a group of girls that I followed through most of their high school years with, which was cool.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so did that for 4 or 5 years, got married in there, went to uni in amongst all that. And then I think I might have done a bit of kids ministry as well in amongst all that, really quite heavily involved for a while. Yeah. And then we took a bit of a step back from church. We were just feeling a bit pulled in a different direction, I guess, from the church that Dave and I had met at and where we were attending. And that led us to City on a Hill Geelong.
Yeah, wow.
And so that's our City on a Hill journey, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so like cool to hear that, there's been these moments in your life that are like almost repeated, but they've all like like your grandparents part of a church planning team, your parents serving in the youth ministry, in the high school years going through your journey, and then working with high school girls. Like that's incredible. That timeline that God sort of is just like, watch what I'm going to do.
Watch how I use your journey for
the benefit of others.
Cycle. Yeah.
That's so awesome. That's so cool. Hey, like we're obviously in a time now where we're all journeying through something new, and maybe we can't quite see yet what God is doing and what He's piecing together. Like, what are your reflections, on this time now, like based on, the path you've been walking, and what difference does Jesus make in the season that we're in now?
Yeah. I think it's just trying to allow Him to speak to us in this time. We're hearing a lot in the media, I think, about how we could be using this time. Learn a new skill, or I don't know. There's lots of opportunities at the moment, I think, for short courses and jumping online and doing things like that. But I think it's also a really great chance to take the opportunity to not fill the space.
Yeah, wow, it's great.
I was thinking just last night about, I heard a couple of years ago from a sort of a Christian parenting, not expert, but, like someone who speaks into women as they're in their parenting journey. And she said that when she was a young mum, she didn't really know anybody who had parented how she wanted to parent, and she wasn't really sure how her and her husband wanted to bring up their children. And so they just hit the Bible, and they were like, but God, you don't tell us how to parent in here. And so they just read and looked at how God parents us, and then looked at Jesus' ministry and how He chose to disciple His disciples, and that's what they took on as how they parented. But I was sort of thinking about that in the context of Jesus choosing to take time away. And so, I was feeling a bit overwhelmed with having 3 kids home all the time, and we've started school this week like lots of people have, and it's not been going well.
Join the club.
It's not going well at all. And just thinking about my personality, and that I need I need a lot of space for me to calibrate and just inhale. And but there's this push and pull between I should be there for my children all of the time, and how do I take time away? But actually that's what Jesus did. People were crowding Him, and that's when He would go, actually, let's get this boat, and we're gonna
that's great.
And his knowing that we have a need to enjoy space and to enjoy quiet, and how that fills us. And I just was thinking in particular about the fact that He slept during a storm. His disciples are freaking out. He's just there having a nap in the back of the boat. And so we can, in what seems like this worldwide storm that we're going through at the moment, it's actually okay to just take rest.
Yeah.
To go, all right, the schooling, it's not working in our house, so I'm just going to not. I'm going to be a bit of a rebel, and I'm going to not. If it's not working, it's not worth the battle. And yes, we need to do some, but not at the expense of my relationship to my kid. And so to go, it's actually okay for him to just rest, because this is a storm for him too. Like his world's upside down. Can't go to the park, can't even go to the supermarket with me anymore. Things like that. And can't see friends. He's supposed to be doing schoolwork, but that doesn't look like how it normally looks for him. And that it's okay to allow him to have that rest as well. To just find some sort of peace in this crazy storm that we're all in, follow Jesus' lead and go, it's okay to just rest. And that maybe in a weird way, it's a bit of a gift for some of us.
That's really, really helpful reflection, Sharen. I'd love to dig a little bit more. I mean, we know for those of us that that Dave does a lot of work at the workshop. Often you've got the kids running around with them. I mean, we're a similar age bracket with our three girls. Do you have any other top tips for parents at home with their kids? Like I do like the one of take the pressure off type thing. Like don't what else is there? Do you have any other nuggets that you're willing to share?
Other nuggets? I don't know. I don't know. I feel very put on the spot here. Now I'm going to come up with something good.
You can say no.
I'll take a sip while I think.
Okay. Strategic sip.
No, I just think that our connection with our children is just what should really be our highest priority at the moment. Excuse me. Even within church circles, and it's more me than anything else, it's my perceptions, but sometimes I feel the fact that having been, and we made a choice for me to be a stay-at-home mum with our kids, that can sometimes be seen as a bit, I don't know, it's even a bit unusual these days, I think, within church circles. You don't sort of find too many people who are strictly stay-at-home parents. And it's not a positive or a negative, but just looking at my children as my first point of ministry, I think, and just how I go about that. This has sort of given some good space to maybe look at making some adjustments and be a bit more intentional with them. There's not the rushing to go to and from places at the moment. So it's a chance to, I guess, reevaluate some of our choices that we were making, and even things that it feels like we didn't necessarily make deliberate choices, but you kind of just get swept along in life.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so I've just been thinking, or spending a bit of time thinking about that and what that might look like currently, but how we can integrate that going forward, I guess.
Yeah.
Just that really wanting to be a lot more intentional in how I'm discipling my children, because that's my family and my home is my first calling as a mother. And so wanting to get to the end of my life, or on the other side, and I don't want to get there and God be like, what did you do with what I gave you? And be like, well, here's everything I did in my life.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, but what about the 3 kids that I gave you to minister to and disciple? And so I just think, I've been spending a bit of time sort of thinking about that at the moment, and just shifting how I respond to them, and how would Jesus be responding to his disciples, and looking for teachable moments, and things like that, I guess.
That's really, really great. That's really great. That's it's one of those things we can easily forget, isn't it? We can forget because no one else can disciple our kids like we can.
Yeah.
If we want to know if you're a parent or if you're a spouse, it's kind of like, what is my first calling? And it's just like, well, you live with it,
Yeah, so true. Yeah, absolutely. And just lots of grace. Lots of grace at the moment. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think the verse I keep coming back to at the moment is God being slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. And oh man, it's kind of like when you're with the kids for so long, you're just like, I don't know if I would class this as being slow to becoming angry. And you're just like, okay.
I hear that.
Yeah, you're like, Father, forgive me, and let's try again. Thank you that you are. Thanks for guiding me through this.
But you know what? That's such a great thing about kids that are our age. They are so quick to forgive.
Yeah, that's great.
They're so quick to forgive. I really was not living out my ideals earlier this week. And but and was, like had one child being like, I don't want her as my mummy anymore. And but then at bedtime comes and like just the grace that our children give us, such a lesson. But just, I love you, mummy. Give me like massive cuddles, and it's like no mention of the battles we were dealing with earlier. Just, just they're a good lesson in grace.
That's lovely. Wow, that's so encouraging. Well, Sharen, that has been so encouraging, to me to hear your reflections on life and the time that we're in. And I'm actually feeling more equipped as a parent in reaction to this conversation.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you so much. I'd love an opportunity to pray for you if you don't mind. That'd be great. Let me pray. Dearest Father, I thank you so much for my sister Sharen, and just for the way that she's just using this time just so wisely. Thank you for the discernment and the wisdom that you're gifting her in this season. And we pray that you would continue to grow her in love and patience with her children. And thank you for the way that she's been able to encourage us as a church and how we think about the meanings of our and purposes of our life. We thank you for little cliche Christian books that can bring us back to church. We thank you for churches that welcome us home. And we thank you for the legacy and the way that you bring our stories together when we get to look back on them in hindsight. I thank you for Sharen. I pray you'll be with her, be with Dave, be with the kids in these coming months. And we look forward to all coming back together face to face soon. We give you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks so much, Sharen. That's been so encouraging. I look forward to seeing you again at church.
Yes. Fun. See ya.